to be talking about development using type. In my previous video, I talked about intuition and sensing and how I think that basically they're so interconnected that we need to realize that in order to develop either of them or use either of them, we need to develop the opposite. So if you want to be more intuitive, you should gain experience in the sensory world. And if you want to have better experiences in the sensory world, then you should use your intuition more. But today, I kind of want to break down the types by categorizing them into 4 types. I think it's a better way because then you can actually see development. You can start with introvert and extrovert and realize that if you're an introvert, your first path to development is going to be extroversion. And if you're an extrovert, your first path to development is going to be introversion. And a lot of times, when you first start developing, it's not very intentional. It's why I think everybody just kind of starts as a sensor. You're sensing the world around you and you are pulling information in. And if you're inclined towards introversion, you're going to introvert that through your sensory function and evaluate it through a judging function, an internal judging function. So that's kind of how we start, is in these loops. And if you're an extrovert, you're going to perceive the world through your extroverted perception function, SE, and then figure out how the world works based on these systems that you're in, which are either going to be TE or FE. So we can think of a lot of different types of systems that you can be in that could look like a TE system, where the main goal of that system and what is basically demanded in that system is an extroverted thinking way of behaving, or an extroverted feeling way of behaving. So that's 2 things that you want to look at. But then I think as you go through these cycles, they begin getting more conscious. You begin differentiating. So then you end up with like an SI user and SE user. And neither one is bad, but I do think that based on how somebody is at a present point in time, it kind of gives you an idea of the narrative that's inside their head, and where they were able to make choices or not make choices in their development. And that based on that, there's going to be a logical progression of development. And then there are going to be moments where you can develop into completely different functions when it's required. Usually it's under pressure or stress, and it's going to be demanded of you a lot of the times. And I think it's kind of like an internal call to do something or act in a certain way or learn something new, and that if you choose to take it on, you will continue progressing. And if you don't choose to take it on, then you may end up disappointed in yourself with the decision not to pursue something. And I think that a lot of this gets instilled in people at a young age. So what I want to look at is kind of each of these. Like, we've heard of quadras and socionics, but I just kind of see it more like, people who share the same function are perceiving the world in the same way and making judgments in the same way. What that comes to be kind of gives you a way to identify type. So what I'm really saying is that, like, your INTP, ESFJ, ENTP, and ISFJ all share the same functions. Same thing with ENTJ, ISFP, INTJ, and ESFP. So when you're looking at areas of life that you want to enter into, or institutions that you want to go to, or a life plan for yourself, or even just want to explain the situations that you're in, I think you're going to see a lot of these together. So when it comes to like the TIFE, SINE, I think that you're looking at a group of people who are looking for coherence in a system. I think a lot of times they're going to be like bureaucratic. They might be into something like at a lower level, they'll be on the school board. At a higher level, they'll be in their local politics. They may move up to governor, something like that. They're using their SI and NE for stability in a system. And then they're using their introverted thinking and FE in a way to harmonize a community. And they are following along within a framework. So I think a lot of these types like a framework, whether it's coming up with the framework, which I think you'll see more with your INTPs, whether it's following the framework, I think you'll see more with your ISFJs and ESFJs. And then kind of more innovative, I would say you have your ENTPs. So they're taking the sensory frameworks and then, maybe one that was never inserted into a new system, and they'll take something that they learned from the past and use it. One really good example of this is Steve Jobs, actually, as an ENTP. And I'll share that video.
So why'd I drop out? It started before I was born. My biological mother was a young, unwed graduate student, and she decided to put me up for adoption. She felt very strongly that I should be adopted by college graduates, so everything was all set for me to be adopted at birth by a lawyer and his wife. Except that when I popped out, they decided at the last minute that they really wanted a girl. So my parents, who were on a waiting list, got a call in the middle of the night asking, "We've got an unexpected baby boy. Do you want him?" They said, "Of course." My biological mother found out later that my mother had never graduated from college and that my father had never graduated from high school. She refused to sign the final adoption papers. She only relented a few months later when my parents promised that I would go to college. This was the start in my life. And 17 years later, I did go to college. After 6 months, I couldn't see the value in it. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life and no idea how college was going to help me figure it out. And here I was, spending all the money my parents had saved their entire life. So I decided to drop out and trust that it would all work out okay. It was pretty scary at the time, but looking back, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. The minute I dropped out, I could stop taking the required classes that didn't interest me and begin dropping in on the ones that looked far more interesting. It wasn't all romantic. I didn't have a dorm room, so I slept on the floor in friends' rooms. I returned Coke bottles for the 5-cent deposits to buy food with. And I would walk the 7 miles across town every Sunday night to get one good meal a week at the Hare Krishna temple. I loved it. And much of what I stumbled into by following my curiosity and intuition turned out to be priceless later on. Let me give you one example. Reed College at that time offered perhaps the best calligraphy instruction in the country. Throughout the campus, every poster, every label on every drawer was beautifully hand calligraphed. Because I had dropped out and didn't have to take the normal classes, I decided to take a calligraphy class to learn how to do this. I learned about serif and sans serif typefaces, about varying the amount of space between different letter combinations, about what makes great typography great. It was beautiful, historical, artistically subtle in a way that science can't capture, and I found it fascinating. None of this had even a hope of any practical application in my life. But 10 years later, when we were designing the first Macintosh computer, it all came back to me. And we designed it all into the Mac. It was the first computer with beautiful typography. If I had never dropped in on that single course in college, the Mac would have never had multiple typefaces or proportionally spaced fonts. And since Windows just copied the Mac, it's likely that no personal computer would have them. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference.
So that you can see it, just so you kind of see how he grew up, how he went to college, how he decided he didn't want to work on what he was working on, so he just took random classes. And it was 10 years later that he took what he learned in a calligraphy class and used it to build his business. So that is kind of how you see like SI and NE playing out, the TI being self-driven, and then FE making something a coherent system. Then I think you have your like ISTJs, ENFPs, ESTJs, and ENFPs. And I would say these are more normative. It's a more normative development. They're using their SI to understand what exists and what their traditions have been, and how they are in those traditions. Similarly to the first quadra, it's all about a lot about traditions, habituation, routine, and they're going to the innovation is going to be more self-directed, a better way of them doing things. And what I actually think you see a lot with this quadra is that I think you have a lot of TE SI users who end up somewhere in midlife realizing like, oh, I didn't really create my own destiny because it wasn't using NI so much, not really at all actually. So they didn't create their own destiny in a way. They followed tradition, And think you see a lot of ESTJs go into ENFP when they need to start creating an ego for themselves. They look for the possibilities of who they could really be. I think ISTJs do this a lot too, somewhere in midlife. I think if they don't, then they kind of just carry on with their traditional life. Maybe they didn't get a lot of pressure to do that. And this shows up a lot in brain scans, where, a lot of SI users stay where they were, but that, if they got into the more intuitive process, you would see a higher degree of development. So with these two quadras, you have to realize that they're following the rules. They're working within the rules of a system. Even your ENTPs and ENFPs, they might disrupt the system a little bit. They might bring in something that other people aren't used to, but they're still working within the rules of the system. Now, when I think you move into these other two quadras, you have people who are they're more independent a lot of the times in these ones, and they're willing to kind of use their own will more so than the rules of the system. So I think when you look at like the ESTPs, INFJs, ISTPs, and ENFJs, they're really going to be good at interacting with people and getting them to do things that they want. They're also going to be good at mobilizing themselves to reach a goal. I think you can look in both of the bottom quadras at SE more as like tactics. So if we think of like your ISTP, so if we look at your ISTP, I think a lot of ISTPs end up like in the military or working in construction, doing a lot of hands-on kind of things. And because they're known to have like this inferior NI, which isn't really true. It's just that what they want is they want to be given an idea of the strategy. They want to know where things are going, so that way they can take their tactics, which is related to TI. So it's like an ego. TI and FI are more ego. It's a set of skills that you have. It's the tactics that you hold. It's what you can do. So they want to take the strategy from somebody else. They want to be given the strategy so that they can implement their tactics. If you see more on the NI DOMs that they're taking the tactics to create a strategy. They're understanding what tactics are available to create a strategy. And I think, as I said in my previous video, that it's really important that we realize that like no one's just going to strategy. You develop the tactics first. You have a very good awareness and ability to use the tactics, and then you move into the strategizing piece. So I think that's kind of what you'll kind of see. I've seen a lot of times where someone who I would type as an ISTP went into the military, oftentimes special forces, and then when they come back, because of the things that they had to do, their TIS, SE, and NI were working, they come back, they do almost look more like INFJs, and they're doing what they go into for a career. It still has that TISE, but it is more of an intuitive thing that they're doing. Like I've seen some people do like cryotherapy. I've seen some people who talk online, who were in the military, and they come back and they have more of this NF side where they realize like the bad of TI and SE. So instead of doing that when they get back, they want to more like use their intuition to teach people a better way of being in a way. Then we can move in, and these are just quick examples. I mean, if we went into each one, which I probably could do, it would be very clear. But like, so when we look at like ENTJ, ISFP, INTJ, and ESFP, I would say it makes a lot of sense here that like no one just comes out in ENTJ. And also, again, ENTJs and ESFPs and brain scans show very similar patterns. And then ISFPs and INTJs show very similar patterns. And if we just look at this as like a basic development, so ISFPs and INTJs, they use NI and FI. And if they are permitted to do so as children, that means they're doing things that they want, and they're realizing. And then what I do believe is that if you're doing something that you want, whether it's a TI want or an FI want, that you're going to be more intuitive about what's happening around you and the processes that are going on within you. You're going to care more. That's just a fact. That's why I've always said that you can't really use TE unless you actually have FI, like you care about the things that you are going to TE. And I think that's one really big important thing to realize. So you have that FI and I loop, and then they're acting on it. And I think like actually ISFP, a good archetype for them is like an actor or actress. They're actually they know how this scene is supposed to play out. They embody the emotions of the scene, and then they're a star actor. And then as they move on through life, they may become the director. They're more of an INTJ. They might become the writer. You know, the writer is probably more of the INTJ. The director is probably more of the ENTJ. And ISFPs and ESFPs kind of both go towards that. I think the SE might go more towards like a sport sometimes because it's high activity, but it's always going to be authentic to them. So then they're going to start climbing towards those other types. But even with that, you know, that's not the end of development. Then they're going to come into other issues. So like, and basically the thing here is to get into your sixth function, which kind of means that you have to, it's cross axial. So like an INTP, I've always said, kind of goes into ENTJ, where you're, I said it earlier. I think that, so like your ISTJ, let's say like an ISTJ, it was a tradition to go into the military. They're going to most likely just take it on if that's the tradition of their family, unless they did NE. They got into NE for some reason. And then you're going to see someone who looks more like an ESTP. They're going to go there. They're going to get bigger, stronger, faster. They're going to be able to act. They're going to be in a high testosterone place. So the SE is going to develop, you know, and then their own introverted thinking is also going to develop from that experience, because those kind of experiences push those types of things. If they stayed with what they've known their whole life, they may not have to get into that. They might not feel that pressure to get into those other functions. And I think this is something that's really important to understand when you're talking about type, because too many people look at it as a stagnant thing, which what it really is a narrative. And I think, I'll be honest, the biggest fact is, and I've heard Jordan Peterson talk about this, the most important thing to really realize is to really act in the world is SEFI. That's just a fact. Either that, or you are acting on somebody else's narrative, but you're not putting yourself into that narrative. And I think this is why a lot of INTPs wonder if they're INTJs or ENTJs. I hear mostly INTJs, but I think that really when you're getting to that stage, what you're really seeing is somebody who's probably on that cusp of cross-axial development. You know, it's probably an INTP or ENTP who says, oh, I need TE, I need to develop TE, or I need to develop NI. And in my next video, I'm really going to talk about the difference between an INTP and an INTJ, because I've had the opportunity to see the difference in a few different areas of my life, and I'm going to really flesh it out in my next video. But just, you have to keep it in mind, you're not fixed, and that intentional development is going to expedite your function development. And at least, you know, if you go into your shadow and you realize there's things that you didn't want to work on, you have your type. But it does always start with the sensory world, which means you have to go into something new in order to actually use your intuition. And one last thing about intuition is it's highly related to feeling. Like, I don't think that you can actually use intuition without it being for the tribe or deeply rooted in something that you like. And that's pretty much what I have. But make sure you like and subscribe if you like this kind of information. And I will make a video soon about the difference between INTJs and INTPs. So yeah, I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for watching.